Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing The Safe Place, written by Anna Downes. Now, this is my attempt to find new authors to read, just to find new voices out there that I haven't read before. I found this through my library as an ebook, so over the Easter period I thought, why don't I download it and give Anna Downes a go? See what it's like. And from the cover and the title and the blurb, it sounded like just a really great thriller, something to get your teeth into. And it sounded a bit chilling as well from the blurb. So I was really interested and keen to read this. Almost from the start of this novel, I'm not sure exactly how many chapters I got into it before I felt this way, but I just felt like most of the things that were going on were a bit of a waste of time. And the characters I didn't find engaging at all, really. Our main character, Emily, it just felt like she made a series of bad choices and bad decisions to lead her into the safe place, the house, where we find her for most of the novel. I didn't feel empathy for her because her character wasn't engaging. It just felt a bit one-dimensional, as did most of the characters through this novel. Now, the plot itself, it's very simple, which is not a bad thing. Many novels have a simple plot, but it's the way the authors take that simplicity and make something of it. In this case, the author just didn't do that for me. For a thriller, it felt very boring. When we're meant to feel at the edge of our seats, you know, those moments where we're getting chills along our spine, I didn't feel that. I just felt like the author created characters that were over the top and too bizarre. And it's all that bizarreness and over the top characters that took away from the plot, I think. Also, it just wasn't tense. It wasn't written in a way that made me tense when I was reading it. So I felt, for most of the novel, I felt it was just really mundane. There was a good twist in the novel. I suspect the author was trying to put 2 or 3 twists as the week progressed. One surprised me, but the rest didn't. So for that one twist that did surprise me, I thought that was good. And that's a sign that the author knows how to write twists and turns in a thriller novel. But when you weigh up that one good twist against everything else in the novel that I found mundane, mediocre, and just plain bad, to be honest, it doesn't stack up well for the reader. Where I want to be thrilled, and I want suspense, and I want chills, I was almost put to sleep, and it was an effort to get through this novel. But I really don't like to put novels down when I start reading them. I have on very rare occasions, and on those occasions, it's a straight 1 out of 5 stars for me. But for this novel, I did push through and finish it. Was I happy with the ending? Yes and no. It was very predictable at the end. It wasn't the best ending. I didn't really care either way what happened to the characters at the end, to be honest. By that stage, I'd had enough and just wanted the story to be finished. So if you've not read the blurb of the book and you just want a big picture storyline of what the novel's about, our main character, Emily, she's a temp worker wannabe actress. Her acting career is not getting anywhere. She gets fired from a temp job, and then out of nowhere, her boss, who basically was the one to decide to fire her, asks her to be his wife's personal assistant. She says yes. And why would you say yes? You've just been fired, and then the guy who fires you wants you to do another job for him. I don't get that part, and I don't get the decision of the character to say yes. So she jets off to France because the house is in France where the wife lives. So that's a bit of a bit of a alarm bells as well. Why is the wife tucked away in France? When she gets to the house, it's a big house, it's beautiful. She's amazed by it all. There's no phone reception. The gates get locked, she can't get out. So a lot transpires in the house. A lot of it just over the top and bizarre, not very exciting. And then we get to the stage where the main character finds a big secret, and then that pushes along to the last part of the story. So I won't give away that part, but it's a lot of work to get to that part of the story, and I suspect a lot of readers may drop off before that happens. That's the main plot in high level detail. Most of the characters in this novel are just too over the top, too bizarre. They just don't seem real, and they just seem one-dimensional, almost caricatures of what a character should be. Even the characters that don't play a big role and just there, I guess, as a supporting cast, they often act over the top as well, and it's like the author just wants to make every character larger than life, because maybe at the time the author thought that's what we needed, that's what attracted readers. But it really doesn't. There's got to be some light and shade in characters, and there's just got to be a bit more reality in the way they behave and the way they interact with each other. It was just too bizarre to be real. Emily, our main character, just, as I said before, a bad decision maker. I didn't feel any empathy towards what happened to her. She just was, I don't know, like a lamb in the headlights through most of the novel, really. And just very naive for a character that would have been that age in modern times. Scott, her boss, I mean, they also tried to bring in a bit of a sinister feel to this character, I think. I got the anxiety and the stress that the character felt at certain parts of the novel. Not the worst character in the novel, but just not a very complex character and not that well written. Nina, who is Scott's wife, and the woman who Emily is the personal assistant for. Just too bizarre and over the top for words. Well, how I think of it is the author may have watched some 90s thrillers, things like Hand That Rocks the Cradle, The Roommate, that sort of thing, and gone, okay, what's worked for that character, and wanted to sew them all together into some Frankenstein monster of a character. That's what it felt like. And it just didn't work. It was too bizarre to be real. And there was just too much going on with that character, too many ups and downs. It was just like watching a train wreck, really. Aurelia, who's the creepy child. A bit more complex as a character. I mean, the character was a bit more believable. Not 100%, but wasn't so bad. Some of the things the character did was a bit over the top, like attacking grown people, and the people seemed to let that happen almost in a way. The one thing that didn't make sense for me, and was also a big kind of plot hole, I think, was we're told that this character has a low immune system, that she needs to be careful in case she gets sick. The child was climbing into walls in secret passages and, climbing through walls and through dusty areas all the time. Wouldn't other characters in a novel pick up on that and question that? I think that was a bit of a plot hole and just really didn't make sense in the novel why that was never questioned. So while this character was better than most of the other characters in the novel, that part didn't make sense. It is the author's debut novel, so sometimes we have to give a bit of leniency for that, because authors sometimes take, maybe to the next novel to find their stride a bit. But having said that, I was left really disappointed by this novel. So I give it a 1.5 out of 5. 1.5 because I did finish it. I didn't put it aside halfway done. But almost every aspect just didn't work for me. And I found everything too over the top, and I was almost trying too hard to make the reader feel something and recognize something in the characters and the scenes to be real. And because I didn't engage with any of the characters, that's just a sign that the novel's not for me and not well written, maybe. The characters weren't well crafted. The thriller element really wasn't there. One good twist doesn't make up for all the bad elements. So 1.5 out of 5.